Hey everyone, and welcome back to our series on the Ottoman Sultans. Today we're diving into the life of a ruler whose reign was a roller coaster of war, peace, abdication, and return. Murad II, he wasn't just a warrior. He was a pivotal figure who stabilized the empire after a period of intense turmoil and paved the way for his legendary son, Mehmed the Conqueror. Murad II ascended to the throne in 1421, and from day one it was trial by fire. He was just a teenager and immediately faced challenges to his rule. The Byzantine Emperor Manuel II Palaiologos decided to stir up trouble by supporting a rival claimant to the Ottoman throne named Mustafa Elebi, who claimed to be a long-lost son of Sultan Bayezid I. This forced Murad into a brutal civil war. He had to prove his mettle quickly, and he did. Murad successfully crushed the rebellion, executed Mustafa, and then turned his attention to the source of the problem, Constantinople. In 1422, he laid siege to the great city, a clear message to the Byzantines that meddling in Ottoman affairs would have serious consequences. Though the siege was ultimately unsuccessful, it re-established Ottoman dominance in the region and forced the Byzantines to pay a hefty tribute. With his authority secured at home, Murad turned his gaze towards the Balkans. The 1420s and 32nds were a period of constant campaigning. He expanded Ottoman control, capturing key cities like Thessaloniki from the Venetians in 1430 after a long and difficult siege. His campaigns pushed deeper into Serbia and Hungary, bringing him into direct conflict with one of the most formidable Christian commanders of the age, John Hunyadi, the voivode of Transylvania. Hunyadi was a brilliant military strategist, and the battles between his forces and Murad's armies were legendary. For years, they were locked in a grueling back-and-forth struggle for control of the Balkan frontier. This constant warfare took a toll. In the early 1440s. A large crusader army, known as the Crusade of Varna, was assembled by the King of Poland and Hungary, Władysław III, with John Hunyadi as the lead general. They launched a major offensive, pushing the Ottomans back. The campaign was so successful that it forced Murad to the negotiating table. In 1444, he signed the Peace of Szeged, a 10-year truce that was incredibly favorable to the Hungarians, ceding significant territory. Why would Murad agree to such terms? Well, he was exhausted. He had been fighting for over 2 decades, and he had recently lost his favorite son, Aladdin Ali. Grief-stricken and weary of war, Murad made a shocking decision. Believing the empire was secure under the new treaty, he abdicated the throne in favor of his 12-year-old son, Mehmed II, and retired to a life of contemplation in Manisa. But peace was not to be. Seeing a child on the Ottoman throne, the Crusaders, urged on by the papal legate, broke the treaty just a few months after signing it. They believed it was a golden opportunity to drive the Ottomans out of Europe for good. A massive crusader army marched towards Ottoman territory. The young Sultan Mehmed and his advisors were in a panic. The empire was facing an existential threat. A famous, perhaps legendary, story tells of young Mehmed writing a letter to his father, pleading with him to return. The letter supposedly ended with the powerful line, "If you are the Sultan, come and lead your armies. If I am the Sultan, I order you to come and lead my armies." Whether the letter is real or not, Murad answered the call. He came out of retirement, reassumed command of the Ottoman army, and marched to confront the Crusaders. The two forces met in November 1444 at the Battle of Varna, on the Black Sea coast of modern-day Bulgaria. It was a massive, bloody engagement. The Crusaders, led by Hunyadi and King Władysław, fought fiercely. At a critical moment, the young Polish-Hungarian king led a reckless cavalry charge directly at the Sultan's position. He was unhorsed and killed, and his head was displayed on a spear. The death of their king shattered the Crusader morale, leading to a decisive Ottoman victory. Varna was a disaster for Christian Europe and firmly cemented Ottoman control over the Balkans for centuries. After the victory, Murad once again tried to retire, leaving the throne to Mehmed. But the court was not ready for the young, ambitious sultan. The powerful janissaries, the elite infantry of the empire, became restless. They resented Mehmed's grand vizier and started a revolt in the capital, demanding the return of the experienced Murad. Bowing to pressure, Murad to return to the throne for a second time in 1446, while Mehmed was sent away to serve as a provincial governor, gaining more experience in the art of rule. Murad's final years were not quiet. John Hunyadi, eager for revenge after the defeat at Varna, assembled another coalition army. In 1448, the two great rivals faced each other one last time at the Second Battle of Kosovo. This was another epic, multi-day battle. Hunyadi employed his signature tactics, using wagon forts to counter the Ottoman cavalry, but Murad's experience and the sheer size of his army proved overwhelming. After 3 days of brutal fighting, the Christian coalition was crushed. The Second Battle of Kosovo was the final nail in the coffin for any large-scale Balkan effort to expel the Ottomans. Hunyadi escaped, but his power to challenge the Ottomans was broken. Beyond the battlefield, Murad II was a significant patron of art, architecture, and literature. He commissioned mosques, bridges, and schools, and his court was a center of learning and culture. He was a pious man who supported Sufi orders and encouraged the development of Turkish literature, moving away from the Persian influences that had dominated the court. He was laying the cultural and administrative foundations for the empire's golden age. More importantly, he was preparing his son. The years Mehmed spent as a provincial governor after his first brief reign were not a punishment. They were an education. Under his father's guidance, he learned statecraft, military strategy, and the delicate art of managing the powerful factions within the empire. Murad knew his son was brilliant and ambitious, but he also knew he was headstrong. This period of tutelage tempered Mehmed's impulsiveness and prepared him for the monumental task that lay ahead. In 1451, Murad II passed away. He left behind an empire that was stronger, larger, and more stable than the one he had inherited. He had navigated civil wars, crushed crusades, and outmaneuvered some of Europe's greatest generals. He had abdicated twice, only to be called back by duty. His reign was the essential bridge between the era of post-Ankara recovery and the dawn of imperial glory. He had set the stage perfectly for his son, a young man who now had the experience, the resources, and the singular focus to achieve the dream that had eluded his father, the conquest of Constantinople. Murad too is sometimes overshadowed by his more famous son, but his legacy is undeniable. He was the guardian of the empire, the reluctant warrior who secured the foundations upon which Mehmed the Conqueror would build one of the greatest empires in history. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the life of Sultan Murad II, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more stories from the Ottoman Empire. We'll see you in the next one.